again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of MRN Out Loud. It's presented by MoneyLion and also brought to you by Hercules Tires. Finally, after 2 months, we can do what this show was designed to do: preview the upcoming race weekend. And to do that, a couple of special guests will join us on this week's show. Ryan Newman is back after his horrific crash at the Daytona 500. We'll talk to him. Then a little bit later on, Jeremy Bullins from Team Penske. He was with Ryan Blaney, but after an off-season crew swap there, he's now the crew chief for former champ Brad Keselowski. He'll tell us what it's like to reboot race shops and get ready for 4 races in 11 days on the Cup side. It's all ahead on this week's edition of MRN Out Loud. Stay with us.
Did you know that banks collected over $15 billion in unnecessary bank fees last year? Come on, enough is enough. It's time we took back control of our finances. That's why MoneyLion is proud to bring you the financial crew chief and to be a NASCAR sponsor. Look, no one knows more about hard work and pursuing their dreams than NASCAR fans, drivers, and teams. So we want to bring you the kind of banking that the big banks would never build, with features like zero-fee checking and zero-fee investment accounts. And because life is also meant for a join, with MoneyLion, NASCAR fans get even more. We're giving away 1,500 NASCAR tickets to our members this year. Plus, you can get 5% cash back on NASCAR tickets, at-track purchases, and all purchases at NASCAR.com. Learn more at MoneyLion.com or download our app. This is America's most powerful financial membership. MoneyLion. Here we roar.
Ryan Newman joins us as he gets ready to go to race at Darlington this coming weekend. And Ryan, I guess there are probably not a sweeter sentence you have heard in a while than going racing this Sunday. You have to be more than even the other guys, I guess, chomping at the bit to get back at it, don't you?
Well, I am. In multiple ways, like you said. I've been waiting to race for a while, and that's separate of the virus situation. So, it's a great opportunity for us. I know as a whole, the racing world has collectively got together. Even the short track world has got together to put some shows on and make a difference and give something for our fans to reconnect with as we have gone through this 2 months of world shutdown.
Let's back up a little bit further. Everybody has seen by now your terrible crash at Daytona, but I don't know if you know this or not. I was looking around, and there is actually a Ryan Newman YouTube crash compilation. So I went back and thought, nope, that one's not nearly as bad. Nope, that one's not nearly as close. How much did this one hurt compared to some of them that you've been through? Because anybody who's been in this a while has had some bad crashes.
Yeah, this one hurt so bad I don't remember it. I got knocked out. And somebody hit the delete button on my memory card. So it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it is fortunate because I don't think it's something I necessarily do want to remember. And I think God or whoever controls that part of the world, as far as not remembering certain things, did that to protect me and always give me the opportunity to remember the good things of what I do and enjoy in racing, and not always the bad things.
You've had some where you've gotten on your lid at super speedways. I saw one that looked just really painful at Watkins Glen several years ago. How sore were you after the fact compared to some of those other incidents?
My left shoulder was really sore. I think I took a pretty good shot on the left side of my body from Corey's car. So that hurt for quite a while. And it hurt more so than anything I had head trauma-wise. Like I literally felt fine in the head. I just had a sore collarbone and no broken bones, but just was kind of beat up and felt like I was fully capable of racing. But obviously the world shut down, and that gave me some more time to heal.
I guess there is a bright side to everything if you look hard enough, but it seems like more and more NASCAR is using the data and input from other drivers and teams to move the safety situation forward, and I'm sure that they've done that with you. Is that correct, to talk to you about what happened?
Yeah, I've had more conversations after this crash than I have probably collectively over the last 18 years, 19 years together about the safety of our sport. I'm happy about that. I'm happy they're being proactive about it. Some of it's reactive, but they're also being proactive for the future. By adding bars and talking about different things we could do with our window nets, and for me personally, some of the things we can do with the safety crew and what difference we can make with the testing processes to have a better understanding of where you stand with your prior life and your health before you ever turn a lap to start a season like I did in Daytona. So, it's been good. Unfortunately, it comes from a bad situation, but at the same time, I have the opportunity to make good of that bad situation.
Speaking of health, that's something everybody's concerned about right now with the coronavirus, and this will be a whole different world for us at Darlington to kick things back off this weekend with all the screening and social distancing going on. I mean, you've been at races before where you had to go on a Monday on a green track and there weren't many people around, but this is completely different. Have you thought much about how strange this is going to feel, or is it just more eager to get back at it?
Both. It is going to be strange, but definitely a lot of eagerness too. When I do see somebody, it's going to be hard and awkward because I haven't seen them for 8 weeks or more because of my accident to walk up and not shake their hands because it is the human natural thing to do. We're not necessarily allowed to do those things, and that's just not my personality. So there will be challenges that go along with what we do on Sunday. But once I get strapped into the race car, I'll be ready for those challenges.
And speaking of that, no practice, no qualifying, no nothing. The first time you'll be in the race car is during pace laps before you get the green flag and everybody storms off into turn one on a really green racetrack. Is it going to be tiptoe time, or do you think somebody's going to go bonsai into there and get a little wild right off the bat?
It's going to be tiptoe time. There's always somebody that goes bonsai in there. And you just got to kind of figure out, based on the way somebody's scrubbing their tires or playing with their throttle before the green flag drops, who that somebody might be.
This will be your 22nd race at Darlington, so you and a lot of the other guys have been through many different situations there. It's going to be very warm, but with some of that experience, what do you expect the track to do? Obviously, this is a little bit of an unknown, and we are running on the same tire we did a year ago, but how do you expect the track to evolve through the course of the race?
I think it'll rubber up for sure. As it rubbers up, the tire wear gets better, and the track's going to change a little bit. We'll have to adjust, I'm sure. We'll have to adjust like we do in practice as we, figure out what we need to do to make our cars drive and feel better. But we're only going to be limited to so many things that we can do as we do that. So, NASCAR is aware of what we need to do to put on the best show from a competitor standpoint because we've told them. But at the same time, the show must go on, and we have to make sure that we're prepared as best we can.
NASCAR has granted you a playoff exemption despite missing the races, and that's happened before when guys have been injured. But how confident are you that the 6 team can make the playoffs again?
Well, we proved in Daytona that we were capable, if not real close to winning, and we have plenty of opportunities to do that. I mean, the virus played to my favor with having more time to heal, but I still did miss, several races. So I feel like I have the opportunity mathematically, and I'm thankful that NASCAR granted us that waiver, as I felt like that it would be of their best interest as well. But at the same time, got to go out there and perform and have some fun in performing. Hopefully, if we can't point our way in, we can win our way in and then point our way in.
A lot of you guys, when you came up in the racing world, started off in the late model arena and moving up to where you would race several times a week. It looks like that's what the schedule is going to play out like here as NASCAR tries to get back on track and get the schedule back on track. Is that something that concerns you at all, or is it just the adrenaline's going to let you push right through it? Because typically guys say it takes a couple days to stop being sore after a really physical race.
No, I think there's a lot of us, not every one of us, but there's a lot of us that carry the bumper sticker on our cars that says "Have helmet, will race," and I'm ready, and I'll be ready on Sunday, and I'll be ready on Wednesday, and if we raced on Thursday morning, I'll be ready again then too. It's just. I mean, obviously, if you get in an accident and you're sore, that's one thing, but the adrenaline is an amazing thing that you go through when you compete in a sport like this, and it'll take care of us.
I saw during the shutdown or lockout, whatever you want to call it, while we've all been waiting for this moment to finally come upon us, you got some fishing in, you got some time with the girls in. Have you done some things that you didn't think you would ever find yourself doing while we were in this shutdown situation?
Cooking a lot more food, I can tell you that's a fact. I've had to spend more
what's your go-to
time.
recipe?
My really burgers on the grill. I got my own beef cows, so burgers on the grill are an easy thing to do, and the kids definitely enjoy homemade French fries. My mom's mom, my grandma, taught me how to make French fries when I was a kid, and for some reason I've mastered it the last few months here. So I really just I have enjoyed a lot of time with my kids. I have enjoyed a lot of time at the farm working on some old cars and things like that. But definitely still miss what was normal, the racing life, and we will. I'm hoping at some point get back to that full green flag, not just a caution flag.
Can you tell me Grandma's French fry secret, or would you have to kill me?
Oh, it's easy. It's just a matter of being. It's like anything else when you cook. You gotta prepare it right and cook it right. And I use russet potatoes. It's the way I slice them. It just makes my style of French fry. It's not a steak fry. It's not a shoestring fry. And then I use Mazola corn oil, mostly because I got it for free, but it does cook really well. And just cook them in a. Actually, I use a turkey fryer and pull them out with a basket, and then that's it. I mean, it's just a matter of having the right temperature, which I couldn't even tell you. I don't use a thermometer. I drop a French fry in, check the temperature. If it bubbles, they're ready, and I let her eat.
Learn by doing. That's exactly right. I got to ask you, you mentioned the animals. What's new at the Rescue Ranch? How are things going there? I saw a lot of social media. It seems like a lot of folks are helping out as best they can during this time.
Yeah, we've done a few videos and raised some awareness. It was really tough for us because it is a social activity to come out and have educational classes and groups at the ranch. So, having all those things shut down, but yet the overhead and the responsibility of feeding the animals and not having the income as we had planned was tough. So we appreciate everybody's support, and we'll always appreciate their support as much as they can help in many ways. Come out and see what we do, and if you can contribute, we appreciate that. But it's all about animal education and kids which obviously has changed as schooling has changed. But to eventually have it back open up for birthday parties and summer camps and things like that, we look forward to that opportunity.
Well, Ryan, it's great to have you back. Good to see you're smiling again and get ready to get back in the race car, and continued success and good luck here as we get really, really busy over the next month or so. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Woody.
Next time those engines roar, don't just get pumped up. Get 5% cash back with MoneyLion. Our members get 5% cash back on up to $2,000 in annual purchases of tickets to a NASCAR race from authorized ticket sellers. You'll also get 5% off any at-track purchases and all purchases on NASCAR.com. Just use your MoneyLion debit card and it couldn't be easier. Join the world's most powerful financial membership, MoneyLion. Here we roar.
Wherever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there no matter where the road takes you. You can count on Hercules Tires to have your back when times are tough, all while adding money to your pocket. The purchase of 4 qualifying Hercules Tires through May 31st, 2020 could get you up to a $70 Visa prepaid card. Visit HerculesTire.com/spring rebate to learn more. That's HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area.
Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower? Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, it did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Welcome back. Time now for our financial crew chief segment, where we hear from a NASCAR crew chief about the coming race weekend. Of course, this weekend it's Darlington Raceway, but there's a little more involved. The shops had sat idle for almost 2 months. Race teams have scrambled to get back in action, get their cars ready to go, and we had a chance to catch up with Jeremy Bullins from Team Penske. He's the crew chief for Brad Keselowski. This segment is presented by MoneyLion, the world's most powerful financial membership. MoneyLion, here we roar.
Jeremy Bullins joins us now from Team Penske. He's the crew chief for Brad Keselowski as we got set to go back racing. And I know, Jeremy, that's got to be music to your ears going back racing, but I'm really curious as to what it's like to reboot a race shop after it's been essentially sitting idle for 2 months. That's got to be something you've never been through before, have you?
Yeah, I mean, what we're going through now, I don't know that any of us in this generation have been through, but definitely, a pretty tall task to get things up and going. And fortunately, before the break, we had some cars ready to go. So that gets us going for the first few weeks here. And everybody's working really hard to make sure we have enough stuff to cover these midweek events and everything else we got going on.
I'm just curious. I'm sort of joking, but I'm sort of not. Is it like take the covers off the cars and clear the dust off and dive right back in? What's involved? I mean, how do you do something like this?
No, a lot of it, the races where we were going to go, the wraps are different. So some of that stuff had to get changed and kind of shuffled your car schedule around. And basically you had to decide where you were going to take the cars that you had allotted to the next upcoming events and, swap some stuff around and build some different cars and things like that. So that's what everybody's been working on. And you're trying to accomplish that for multiple teams in the building. So it's been a lot to it and a lot of moving pieces, but we're starting to get a hold of it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been told in the past that at Team Penske, you guys do it a little bit differently, whereas some teams may say, I want car number XYZ to go to this track. You guys have more of a rotation type schedule. Is that right?
Yeah, it's quite a rotation. It's for the most part, our cars are built very close to one another. So, the idea is that they don't know if it's a 2-car or 22-car or 12-car until it gets wrapped. So, they kind of get assigned that way. So our cars are built very much the same. Each team has a few options they can select from, but most of those are bolt-on things or adjustable parts and things like that we do a little bit differently per team. But we all work closely enough together that everything's fairly close.
One of the big challenges when we crank back up at Darlington is going to be no practice whatsoever before you guys actually hit the track. We've kind of been in some of those situations in terms of weather, rain type things before, but what are your concerns with something like that? What do you have to keep in mind getting ready for a race where the car will not be on the track before you get the green flag?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is getting your travels right. Every week that's the first thing teams work on is you go make a few laps and, are you close enough to the splitter? Are you too close to the splitter? Are your rear heights, are they what you want them to be? And, adjust your starting heights and your packer gaps to get your attitude where you want it. So that's the biggest thing that you really just have to lean on your simulation tools and the other tools that we have to work with to try to get that as close as we can off the truck. And whoever hits that the best will certainly be the best in the first segment. There's no doubt about it.
One of the good things that's got to be a comfort to you is working with a guy who is A, won at Darlington, and B, won a championship. It's not like you're trying to get through this with a rookie, with working with Brad Keselowski as you get ready to go to Darlington. So how much can you rely on past notes? This is going to be an absolutely 100% green racetrack, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. The track's going to have no rubber on it. It's going to take a lot of rubber in a hurry. So the first couple sets of tires are going to wear out really quickly. So it's good to have somebody like Brad that has a lot of experience and knows how hard to push it without tearing his tires up. And that's going to be key to the first couple stints of the race, is just making sure that you run long enough to get to a pit stop for sure.
Another thing is 16 crew members at the track. How does that differ from what you might normally have? And what have you guys discussed in terms of how you're going to allocate responsibilities to the different people using the resources that you'll be allowed?
The biggest challenge with that whole thing, to be honest, is the behind-the-wall support for a pit stop. You're going to have your 5 over-the-wall guys, but the biggest challenge you have is pretty much everybody on the road crew has some role behind the wall during a pit stop. It takes the whole group to complete the pit stop the way you want to, whether it's catching a tire, handing a gas can, or catching a gas can. At some point, everybody has something to do. So we're taking mostly mechanics and myself, all guys that currently do some of those jobs behind the wall, and we're having to shuffle the deck a little bit as to who does what just to get everything accomplished. My engineers are going to work from home. My mechanics will have to work from home just to meet the limit, but they're going to be working on getting the next event's cars ready to go while we're at the racetrack. So we're going to make it work, but it's certainly a challenge. With the roster cuts we've had over the last couple of years, everybody stayed busy. Everybody had something to do. So this is just another step of that.
During a typical race, you might look up on a pit box and see yourself, the crew chief, and several different team members and PR people and sponsor people, family members. How will you guys manage that? Will you be up there by yourself? Or you got to keep some spacing, right?
Yeah, it's looking like I'll be pretty lonely up there, but we've got a great IT department that'll have us connected, be able to talk to the guys at the shop, and my engineers back at the shop will be able to chat back and forth with them, and we'll get through it. It's just going to be a lot different than what we're used to.
When we get to the track, we're going to have the Sunday race at Darlington, then the Wednesday race, then turn right around and go to Charlotte Sunday and another Wednesday race. How are you guys managing it to have 2 cars ready for the same track within a span of just 3 or 4 days?
Well, that's the great thing is, we've got a great assembly shop, a great fab shop at Team Penske. Everybody's worked really hard the last couple of weeks here since we've been able to get back to it, to get ourselves prepared. And by the time this week is over, we'll have both the Darlington cars ready to go and be working on the Charlotte stuff. So by the time we get to next weekend, both the Charlotte cars will be ready. So the guys have done a really good job of putting everything in a spot where we can be in good shape.
Does the position we were in with the schedule before, like getting ready to head to Atlanta, have any advantage or disadvantage in terms of the prep work you guys had done before everything got shut down, or is it wiping the slate clean and essentially starting from scratch?
Well, I think the big thing is that helped everybody out is we were getting ready to go to Atlanta and Homestead. And for the most part, Homestead and Darlington, you run the same tire. You typically run the same type of car. So in Atlanta is the same way. So this first two Darlington races, I'm guessing 90% of the garage probably is using their Atlanta and Homestead cars that they had ready. So that helps a lot. You just got to get your wraps straight and change your setup stuff for the things that you do different for those tracks, but change gears and those kind of things. But past that, then you start looking at what car you were going to take to Texas or here or there. Fortunately, Charlotte wouldn't have been too far down the line. So, some people would have had their Charlotte stuff going already, that kind of thing. So it's just a matter of, like I said, reallocating cars from where they were going to go to where they need to go now.
During the shutdown, lockdown, whatever we want to call it, what kinds of things did you guys do to keep in touch and try to be ready? Obviously, you were not having all the information about where we might land until here recently. So what kinds of things did you guys do to keep ready and be at a point where you could say, once they hit the go button, here's what we're going to do?
The biggest thing we did is, we tried to react to the rumors of where we might go and make sure we were prepared for that. But the biggest thing that we did is myself and my engineers tried to continue to have some of the weekly meetings that we would anyways. We just had them virtually. But, we tried to make sure that we were still planning ahead and thinking about things we could do different and better when we got the opportunity to get back in the shop, planning ahead. And I think that's going to pay dividends for us in the next couple of weeks because we had a lot of things laid out of what we wanted to do.
And what has just life in general been like for you? Everybody's talking about all the different things they did, working jigsaw puzzles or doing a lot of yard projects. What did you do to pass the time when you weren't working and trying to get prepared? Because it was just a really different environment for everybody.
Yeah, it was, for me, I have a little shop at my house. I keep a late model in there, so I got to tinker on that thing some. Haven't gotten to race it yet. Still waiting to get the engine together, but, worked around the house on that thing, did a lot of yard work, all the kind of stuff that everybody else did, but, still trying to stay focused a little bit on having a plan when we get back to this. But I must admit, you try to keep in perspective that a lot of people have struggled with this thing, but it's been nice for us that have traveled forever to have a little bit of a break. I'm not going to complain about that part, but hopefully there's an end in sight to this thing so we can put it behind us.
Obviously, it looks like we're going to have a really tremendously busy schedule here whenever we find out more about the upcoming races. So when are you eyeing trying to get that late model back on the track? Have you circled anything in pencil on the calendar yet, or is it just you can't even consider
November
it?
now, but it might be November now. But yeah, there was a couple of races on the off weekend August that we were going to try to hit, but I'd say those are probably out of the question. So it might be November now, but we'll find something somewhere.
Wow. A lot of talk at the early part of the season. You guys made a big crew chief swap at Team Penske. You were with Ryan Blaney, now with Brad Keselowski, but you had won Xfinity races with Brad before, so it's not like you guys were unfamiliar. What did you learn in the early part of the season, those first 4 races that we got in, that will help you now? Because it's not like you were completely new to each other.
Yeah, I think over the course of 3 years, I think we won 13 or 14 races with Brad in the Xfinity car, and a couple championships that he was a great big part of. So it was pretty easy to make that transition to work with him. We had a lot of success in the past, kind of understand how each other likes to communicate and the things that are important to each other. And I feel like that part was going really well. And I felt like we had a shot to win Daytona, and we were fast there all week. Every race we were in, we led a lot of laps, and Vegas didn't quite go our way, but we weren't really sure where we needed to be car wise with him and things like that. And I thought by the time we got to Fontana, we were in the hunt and getting a lot closer. And Phoenix was a great weekend for us. We had a lot of fun there, and I felt like we were close enough to contend for a win if things play out right. So the communication part of it's been pretty smooth, been pretty easy, and hopefully we can just continue to build on some of that past history.
Speaking of Phoenix, that was the debut of the new, or if you will, old short track package that was an adjustment from the previous year that you guys are going to take to all the short tracks this year. What did you think of that, and do you think that can be something to build on going forward? Because it seemed like it got pretty positive reviews.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the low downforce stuff. I think it obviously puts it back in the driver's hands a little bit and kind of separates those guys a little bit to the guys that can get it done, in my opinion, in any situation. But the whole thing there is being able to pass. And I thought, there was a lot of people that moved through the field there, and we moved through a couple times ourselves. So I think it makes it, I thought it made for a great race, and hopefully it continues to show up that way everywhere we go. And, the hard part is the intermediate stuff, because when you add the level of speed, it just gets more difficult to make the passing easier. But who knows where that'll go in the future if that goes back to being what we run everywhere. But I definitely think you'll see a big improvement in the short track racing this year.
Let's wrap with this. A lot of guys came up through the racing ranks going, 3-4 times a week, racing as much as you possibly could. And even though this cup type schedule is really busy as well, is this, when we do get back to it and the schedule is just full with, double headers, midweek races and all that, is this going to have kind of an old school feel to it for you?
I don't know. When I first started, you still had, I was briefly there for second round qualifying and changing engines and all that kind of stuff. So, I lived through some of that. I think that was probably you earned your money back then. There was a lot of work that happened. And in a lot of ways now we're so limited on the amount of practice time we have and tires you have, and that you don't practice as hard as you used to. You used to really hustle and practice. And now it kind of seems like, we're not where it used to be in that regard. I think the challenge of having the midweek races is offset a little bit by being one-day shows. So I think, that part will be in places that we can drive to as well. So it's going to be hard, but it's not going to be that hard. I think there's a lot of people in the sport that have been through things that were more difficult, to be perfectly honest.
Absolutely, and it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Well, Jeremy, we appreciate your time. Good luck at Darlington and Charlotte and whatever may come after that.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate the time.
There you go. Brad Keselowski's crew chief is Jeremy Bullins at Team Penske.
That's all the time we've got on this edition of MRN Out Loud. It's been presented by Money Lion and also brought to you by Hercules Tires. We want to thank Ryan Newman and Jeremy Bullins for joining us on the program. Don't forget, airtime Sunday afternoon, 2:30 Eastern Time. I'll be hosting our pre-race show to get you all set to go green after a 2-month hiatus. I'm Woody Kane, and we'll see you right back here next week.